All right, guys, here it is, the upgrade to BooredPrime. This is our Titan X upgrade. Now, if you remember what BooredPrime initially looked like, this is, of course, our most powerful PC in-house, but it was a mishmash. There were wires everywhere. We had orange liquid cooling, even though our board has black and red. But let's go over some of the specs. So we're using an NZXT power supply. I can't remember the exact model number, but it's a 1200 watt power supply there, white to match, of course, our white case. In there, our liquid cooling is a custom liquid cooling base. Now we're also using two GTX 980 graphics cards here, and we're using just a regular SSD, serial ATA SSD. Now the two 980s were running SLI, which is pretty cool. Now we were also running 32 gigabytes of RAM, DDR4 RAM. In there. So that was the basis of what BooredPrime was. But of course, the wiring was shitty. I know some people told me about that. And, the setup wasn't clean enough and it wasn't as powerful as it should have been. So we're upgrading it to two Titan X's. Of course, the cards are 12 gigabytes DDR5 RAM, top of line card from NVIDIA, which is great. And we are also swapping our RAM, and we're actually upgrading to 64 gigabytes. So we swapped out half of it, and we're going 64 gigabytes, and our DDR4 speeds, I believe, is 2400 megahertz. So we'll be upgrading that and also changing our fluid color so to kind of match. And those are old 980s here. We're going to swap those bad boys out. We've already taken them out of the casing. And the one thing to note, we do have PCI-E SSD from Kingston, and we'll be using a new SLI bridge from EVGA. So here are the old 980s. Now, one thing I need to tell you guys about this card, these cards are awesome. They are very good cards. Playing 4K with these have been great. Usually I actually use one for physics, and I actually just game on one. I just like to do that, but you can use them in any form or fashion. I will be using these two cards in the new build I will have very soon. This is another Razer NZXT case build, the S340, which I have in-house, so check that out pretty soon. Now, here is what some of the cleanup started to look like. So we changed our liquid cooling. It's a now, of course, red dye, if you will. Now the PCIe SSDs at the bottom, the last PCIe slots. And as we go ahead and take a closer look, you can see here that we've also set out space for the RAM. Now the back, of course, the wiring has been cleaned up. This is me just showing you what some of that mess looks like. We do have one more hard drive behind, so we have a hybrid hard drive, which we use for storage more than anything else. Now, the PCI SSD is where my games are located, as well as, of course, the OS itself. But this is all going to be has been cleaned up. Now, of course, installing RAM is pretty basic and simple. But just showing you what we're doing here. I had some music playing, so which is why I literally was dancing while doing this. But making sure that that's all in place and situated well. Of course, not putting it in the wrong way. My foolishness sometimes. But that's, RAM installation, that's all in. So we've got 64 gigabytes of RAM. And then, of course, our Titan X cards, that is a 12-pin card. It does have a bunch of ports. It does have 3 display, 1 HDMI port. And we only opened up 1 HDMI and then display port because these are the only two I technically need for this, especially if I'm either connecting to my TV or my PC monitor itself. So that's it. Of course, the cards, both of them are placed in. Make sure you screw them in tightly. You guys who are watching this definitely know how to do this. Some of you probably better than I do anyway. But making sure that's all secure. I like the cards because they do light up. And of course, we placed in our EVGA bridge. Now, we swapped out the initial two-way bridge to 3-way just because of the spacing we had, because you can still use that. But I love it because it really lights up and shines. The system's not on, but I'm just giving you a nice look at what we have created here with this. So it actually looks pretty good. Pretty nice, pretty nifty, much cleaner. Now it's been upgraded to 64 gigs of RAM, 2 Titan X's, cleaner liquid cooling, better wire management all around with PCI SSD. Now, how does that work and perform? So we're going to show you some gameplay of Metal Gear Phantom Pain, and just showing the system specs right here. So we've got 2 Titan X's. We're running the Intel Core i7 5960X, 64 gigs of RAM, and the resolution of the TV is 3480 by 2160. We can actually push it higher, but one of the things about that is that, of course, my scaling goes off on the TV. So this is actually BooredPrime 4K on a Samsung curved UHD TV to give you guys a good idea of what to expect 4K gaming with a rig like this. Now, again, this is not a rig for everyone, but this is just showing you what you can do. I am not an expert builder. I'm not a guy who does constant builds. There are many people who do that out on YouTube. But I know how to build a PC, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can. I'm just showing you what you can do if you extend that. The price of this build will be in a part picker link below. It's a pricey build, especially those two Titan X's really put the price up. Now the X99 chipset is expensive. It's I believe now it's under $1,000, but it's really the Titan X's that go up there. You've got two Titan X's, an X99 board chipset, as well as also a PCI-E SSD, a 480 PCI-E SSD, and the custom liquid cooling, which is about 350 altogether. So it really packs a lot, but your performance is fantastic. Like literally, I can render, as I can start rendering a video, I can have a 4K video rendering in the background and still game in 4K, and I will not notice a dip in frame rate. So let's go ahead, let's jump in. You guys can enjoy this. I'm gonna keep it in this framework just so you can see it here. And it was running at roughly 60 frames per second locked. Now the frame count as a top right hand corner is in 4K. You definitely can't see it. So I'm gonna shut up, enjoy, and I'll come back in a few. Alright guys, that is BooredPrime, our leaner, faster gaming machine. The upgrade has given us two Titan X's, 64 gigabytes of RAM, and some really smooth performance in 4K, especially on a 65-inch 4K TV. So there you have it guys. I will put out straight captures from the gaming PC on there. I'll put Metal Gear so you guys can definitely check that out. But if you want to see more, definitely subscribe to our gaming channel, Bored Gamers, and you can definitely see more content in 4K there. So guys, don't forget to like and share this video. I apologize for the delay. It's finally here, and do subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much, and enjoy your entertainment.